the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100. The biggest thing that we saw here on the day is all surrounding tariffs. Now, number one, we talked about on Saturday going into Monday, this is going to be a volatile situation. So number one, Mexico, US, they've kind of reached a delay in the tariffs that were going to be set on them. That is good news. The market loved it. The other side of this, Canada, not really solving any issues. It seems like they're going more on the offensive and trying to kind of ban and to add more tariffs to our stuff. In my opinion, this is detrimental for Canada because they have more to lose than us and their economy is kind of in shambles. That's the bad thing surrounding this, in my opinion, okay? So I will say that right now. So overall, going into that tariff news, the market loved it. Like I said, you've got a kind of market open that was a little bit choppy. You saw right here. We kind of get this open right here. High of day here right at open, 8:30. You shoot straight down, and then going into basically 9:30, we get some of this news about Mexico and what's happening there, and you basically just have fuel until the end of the day, mounting, pushing back up, just slowly making higher lows, and really trying to get that gap fill that we had from Friday into this Monday. And that's really what took place there today on Nasdaq. Now, I want to throw a few things out there. And if you follow me on Twitter, which I recommend doing so you can get these updates as well, I've had a few videos on there also. You know, one thing that I continue to say is what's happening right now with Trump was fully expected, okay? And by fully expected, did I mean we were able to predict the things that he's going to do and say? No. But we knew that it was going to bring a lot of volatility, and you knew that you were not going to be able to predict what he is going to say and what he's going to do. We said this kind of in a previous video, and we said it on Twitter as well. I think inherently the market still looks very solid. Now, if we start tariffing every country and those get set in stone and we get into all these trade wars, then obviously it won't be good. I mean, Trump is literally targeting every country, like basically right now. As of Friday and coming into today, Mexico, Canada, China, Russia, and then the European Union, the entire European Union. So, again, this is kind of just the beginning. So very important to understand that. Now, I will also say, I've been really, that's kind of been all my Twitter has been today is going over what's happening here. But I mean, you need to understand that this is what Fed Bostic said. Firms say they will pass on all tariffs 100% to customers, consumers, me and you, the people heavily hit right now, and specifically middle class America. So again, this is the really concerning thing in my opinion as well. And I think the Fed is very aware of what's happening. When you start to see the Fed talking negatively about this, and you saw a pretty decent, this is also a Trump quote today, nobody's out of tariffs. This is something that you really saw today. The Fed didn't want to attack Trump. They didn't want to speak, and especially people underneath Powell. Powell will probably be the first person to do so. So it's very important that we're listening to what Powell is saying specifically. He hasn't really commented just yet. So we're really on our toes waiting for exactly what's going to come out of his mouth. But again, as of right now, this isn't solid. But we need to see if things actually get set in place. Is he just threatening them like he did with Mexico? And it's working. Like Mexico quickly, started securing the border, things like that, what they're trying to do there, right? So does Canada fold? Do they stay on the aggressive? Can they really hold out there? Because again, these are putting America in a better situation. I mean, I will say from the outside looking in as of right now. However, Trump has said short term, it might cause the market pain. He said it on Friday. Short term, he doesn't care. If it causes pain, it causes pain. He's like, we can wait him out. That's Trump's logic. And again, going into the market, coming into Monday, we didn't like that. We did not like that until something got resolved. We saw some hope there. So that's where we're at right now. Now, going into tomorrow on the Nasdaq, if you're looking to get that gap fill completely, 21,550, at least 21,530. Bada bing, bada boom, you're basically there right now. ES getting the gap fill as well, back into basically 60, 61. The Dow bounced back into 44.7. Something that I would like to highlight here as well, just bring this over so you can see the numbers here. Dow ended the day down 0.06%. ES ended the day 0.4%. Nasdaq ended the day down 0.38%. It's worth mentioning, right? Today was, we gapped down basically like 400 or 500 points across the board, and then you reclaim most of that. So it's important to understand that people that are jumping ship and saying you're bearish, you're this, you're that, with any glimmer of hope, let's identify where the market is, okay? You need to be very clear with what you're looking at with the stock market, being unbiased here. This is where you're at. Sorry, I did an educational video over the weekend here, but you look here at the daily chart. Your all-time high on SPY is at 609. You're in the after hours at 599. You're $10 away from it once again. Like, these are things you have to actively be thinking about. QQQ, where are you at? A little bit further down, obviously, all-time highs up here for 538, but you're at 520. People start to panic when you see a little bit of red, right? Very important. I posted this on Twitter as well. People really like to panic and, point fingers and say, oh, this is the end. If a really big pullback does happen, you need to understand it's not just going to be just the tip right there, right? So you need to understand what's happening. And that's really what's happening at this point in time. Now, if we start breaking back below 503, 504, big caution signs for everyone, right? So this is what you have to be looking at, considering across the board, especially with how we're moving. And just look at the action that's taking place here on Nasdaq. You're still, all things considered, you're sitting back at July highs. I feel like we've had this story going on and on and on and on. So understand that. Now, the area of the market, when we look at equities and stocks, that's taking the most pain here, very easy to understand. It's semiconductors, in my opinion. And this is kind of the same story that I've been saying for the past few days. I still think NVIDIA is probably one of the best long-term names, but as of right now, it's definitely getting torched and it's holding below a lot of pretty big levels, okay? So NVIDIA, go look at SMH, semiconductors below your 200 SMA. That is concerning. AVGO, back below 218. This is down. This is not what you want to see. But on the other side of this, and I'll say Apple. Apple's another name that's really weak here, okay? On the other side of this, what I'll look at is you have names like Meta pushing back into all-time highs. Amazon, 238, pushing back near all-time highs. Google bounced back into 203. It's at 201, 202 in the after hours. Basically at all-time highs. Okay, CrowdStrike, $400, $8 away from all-time highs. Microsoft, one of the weaker names here as well. But the point I'm trying to make, Netflix here at all-time highs as well. The point that you have to look at here is that you cannot look at the market from a vacuum of just the way that you want to view the market. Okay, I can't view the market of, okay, you're incredibly bullish, but only one part of the market's down, which is semiconductors and Apple and Microsoft, right? I can't do that. I have to be transparent with the overall Nasdaq and what I'm looking at there, and ultimately the effects Trump could have here. But when I look at what's happening and where we're at, you're still caught in the crossroads, because the market, there's half of the market that is within 5 to 10% of all-time highs, and then there's the other half which is pulling back a little bit more aggressively, right? And I think when you look at it from that lens, it's still like, okay, earnings are still coming out, earnings are still pretty awesome, and there's still this outlook of growth. And with any sliver of hope of buyers stepping into the market, guess what happens? You bounce aggressively, like time and time and time and time again here. You have earnings even here on the after hours, worth mentioning, and really coming into tomorrow's where they get better. But going into this week, you have Palantir, you have AMD tomorrow, Google tomorrow, Snapchat tomorrow, PayPal tomorrow morning, Spotify tomorrow morning. Your big earnings probably going to be on Thursday with Amazon, but QCOM, ARM, semiconductor names all coming in on Wednesday. So very important that we understand that. Palantir probably reported as well. We can just take a look. Yeah, Palantir's at $100. Like, pretty incredible what's happening. So, we look at the market of what's happening. Yeah, if I want to pick and choose a few names that look terrible, I could. But if I look at the broad market of what's happening here, a lot of these names still look really good. Okay? Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying tariffs are good for the market. I am not saying that, especially in the short term. Short term, based on this statement right here, posted on Twitter, I want to make this very, very, very clear. Based on this statement, right? Not this one right here. Okay? Firms say they will pass 100% of the tariffs to customers. They will not be paying the fees there. Okay? You need to understand that is bearish. Okay? So if we go and inflict a big tax and tariff on EU, on China, on Canada, eventually on Mexico, inherently that will move the market down, and that will most likely affect GDP and the future earnings coming out. However, in the short term of looking at inflation data and where we're at, it still looks like more of the same. Okay? Things you have to consider. The last thing I'll add here too, DXY, the dollar and yields. The dollar this morning gapped up again, back basically in the local highs here. Okay? Basically down for the rest of the day. Even now, still coming down, right? All day long, dipping back down. Yields, yes, took a little bit of upside here. Not a lot yet. We'll see how this reacts. Again, yields take longer to react here, but still important to see what's happening there as well. Bitcoin bouncing as well off support for like the fifth time. Again, 92, 93K. We talked about that plenty of times. But again, all in all, the biggest takeaway from today is number one, Trump is going to continue saying this shit. Like, you need to understand. He's going to continue saying we need to tax people, we need to tariff people, we need to be aggressive, we need this, America first. And I don't care politically where you stand, okay? Short term, that will negatively impact the market. Can I predict if we're going to make a bunch of deals? No. Nobody can tell you if, yes, Mexico will make the deal, Canada won't make the deal, Europe will make the deal, China won't make the deal. I'm not going to try to predict something that I cannot give you a good answer on, or at least be honest about, right? So it's very important that we understand where we're at and kind of how things are moving here, because that's how I view the market and how I'm looking at this from a non-biased standpoint, right? But as long as you continue to look at what's happening on futures, I'll keep you guys updated. Futures look good. You just fill the gap. You literally just fill the gap here in the after hours. So again, everyone that was panicking, saying you're bearish or this or that, well, congratulations. You're right back to where you were Friday after close. The gap down has been resolved. And you could possibly push back to 22K tomorrow. That's the reality of the situation and where we're moving right now. So again, how I'm looking at the market, how I'm interpreting it, I'm being patient. And the one thing I will say is do not fall in love with trades. I'll go really quickly into Discord really quick from today. And the Discord link, if you're interested, is down below. Do whatever you got to do. We traded futures. Number one, we waited all day long to mount this like 21,440 level. You mounted it, you push right into the gap fill. Awesome. And then on the other side of this, trade ideas as well. Took 2 trades on the day for stocks specifically. Being very clear about this. Microsoft to the downside down to 408.5. And then we traded Meta into 699 and then like 700 give or take. Anyways, so just sat at 700 for the rest of the day. Took our trade. What was it? I will tell you though, if you sit and stay in these positions, there's a high possibility you're going to get stopped out. Okay, just with what's happening, you're taking way bigger gambles as long as this trade war shit's going on. Okay, so again, securing profits is your best friend. Shout out to Jay West, still killing it, 120K so far in the beginning of the year. But again, Discord's doing hot. So if you have questions, comment down below. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Of course, have a good one, traders.